Hello, everybody. Welcome to Psalms 23 podcast. We're your hosts, Nick and Katie. We're going to talk about the Passover and Last Supper, and my wife is going to take over first so we can tell the backstory and stuff. Ready to go? No, hit it.
What? Okay. So the first question is, what was the Last Supper and why was it important? And so the Last Supper was the last meal that Jesus ate with his disciples before he was arrested and sentenced to death. But it wasn't just any meal. It was the Passover, which even today in Jewish culture is still a very, very important event. And it's a holy day. Well, it's a string of holy days. It's like a holy week, more like it. Um so the Last Supper is still a sacred part of Christian worship today, as we remember it every time we take communion. Get your head off of the
No, I was
microphone.
making sure I don't hit my head off the thing.
So every time we take communion at church, we are commemorating the Last Supper. And some churches will even call it the Lord's Supper. So now we're moving on to what is Passover. The Passover was this, the dinner that Jesus was sharing with his disciples was the Passover. So, like, what's the story of the Passover? If it's so special to Jews nowadays, like, why? And did you want to summarize it, or did you want me to just read the notes that I took? Or did you want me to read them and then you can add to them?
No, I know what I'm going to say. Right?
Yes.
Well, the Passover meal is basically when the Hebrews were in Egypt, they were slaves, and God sent down 10 plagues.
Against Pharaoh.
Against Pharaoh, because he had a prideful heart, and he was like it's in Exodus. He talks about he had a prideful heart, and he
didn't fear God.
He didn't fear God. So, and when the 10th plague came, before that, God told Moses to tell people to get a lamb.
The
Hebrews lamb, or a goat that has no blemish or spot. Raise it up and then slaughter it, and take the blood and put it over the doorposts. So once like when the angel of death comes, it will pass right over the house. And it was at midnight, so they're probably sleeping at that time.
Yeah, but did you want to pull up your picture anyway?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's exactly.
And this is just a artist's representation of what the Passover is, but we know that in the Bible they were probably sleeping, and the angel of death just went pass over
all the
Hebrews, so that so they don't lose they won't die or something like that. So angels went to the Pharaoh's son. Anybody who was a firstborn, Egyptian he killed. And pretty much that's what happened. That's when and I think they talk about when the Pharaoh was tired of it, and told the Hebrews to leave. And then Moses told them to quickly make non-yeast unlimited bread.
But now you're moving into the Exodus.
Well, that's part of Passover. That's what the part is. That's when they did all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then they passed from Egypt to.
Yeah, but now, like I said, now you're getting into the Exodus, which is fine, because we got to we said we were gonna do an episode on the Exodus anyway.
Yeah, but right? I'm saying that's part of that Passover part. It's when God told them to quickly make a bread. That's what they eat in the Last Supper.
Yeah.
The bread. I need lemon bread. But I know they had more than just bread and wine. They had like meats and other things they put on the table
Yeah.
that our church tradition believe there's only the bread and wine, but there's more. It's more than just that.
Yeah. But I think the bread thing you're talking about is he told them to make those breads when they were getting ready to leave Egypt. So it was like an Exodus thing. But I get your point though. Um the point is that um the point is that that's a part that you still remembered, and it's still important. It's still an important part of the Exodus and stuff.
We'll do more about the Exodus and all that stuff
Yeah.
later on. But my wife has another one we're gonna tell you
Well,
about at the end of this podcast.
yeah. Well, you actually did a wonderful job. You actually pretty much summarized everything on my notes. And so like
I
when
know Exodus.
yes. And so when the Egyptians woke up, um after all of their firstborns had been slaughtered by the angel of death, and that's like even their animals were slaughtered. So Moses had prophesied to Pharaoh like the day before or whatever that there was going to be a loud wail through the land of Egypt.
He didn't listen.
And he didn't listen. And so Exodus 11:6 said, "Then a loud wail," like this was the prophecy that Moses gave to Pharaoh. "Then a loud wail will rise throughout the land of Egypt, a wail like no one has ever heard before or ever will hear again." And so you can imagine when the Egyptians woke up and found all of their firstborns dead, you can imagine that the horrible cries that were heard among the land. But unfortunately, the people had to suffer for the Pharaoh's sins. Um, Whereas among the Hebrews, everything was so peaceful that not even a dog barked. Um, so, yes, that is a summary of the Passover and like the story of the Passover. And Jews all over the world right now are currently celebrating the Passover. Um, so, I
And
would see we did all that.
and did you talk about like the reason why they was 10 plagues?
Well, I think that. Woo!
We
Knock
definitely
over
need to
the
find a bigger
table.
spot.
Most of this is going to be spoken about in our Exodus episode, but yeah, I think we can leave that
Okay.
for our Exodus episode. But
Now
just
it's time
because
for
we're trying
Jesus.
to focus on the Last Supper. Yeah. But so the Passover is actually it's currently going on now, and
It started
it
what?
started yesterday, April 1st, and it goes until April 9th.
What about Ash Wednesday?
Ash Wednesday. I think Ash Wednesday was like 2 weeks
I know.
ago.
I'm just saying. Did is it just a week? Does Jews celebrate more than a week?
I don't think they celebrate Ash Wednesday at all. I think that's a Christian tradition.
But that's the ashes go on your head.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Anyway,
Again off
so
topic.
yes, so the Passover, the Jews till this day they celebrate the Passover for that exact purpose. They commemorate the time when God had mercy on them and the angel of death passed over their homes. Um And so this was the exact meal, like we had said, that Jesus and his disciples were sharing at the Last Supper. Because Jesus and his disciples were Jewish. Christianity was not even born yet.
It was
Yeah, in fact, Jesus, his goal was never to start a new faith.
you want us to be all together, but Pharisees
Yeah.
didn't like that.
Like he wanted to build off of the Jewish faith. Both him and all of his disciples were Jews. But the Jews rejected him, so the gospel spread to the Gentiles, and then the Gentiles accepted.
So we're
him.
basically a branch off of Judaism. So we're like a.
I mean, if any Jew would like
Get
knock us out for saying that. But yes, essentially, yes,
We're like a
we
messianic Jew Christians.
we are basically we are basically a branch off of Judaism, but any Jew would
Would
throw a
try to
fit
knock
about
you
that.
out with a rock.
But it's true. That is true because they would stone Christians and stuff back in the day. Especially if they claimed to be Jewish.
Or the Romans will.
So yes. So what happened during the Last Supper? Well, we can read some scripture as we always do.
Want me to change the picture? Or you wait till?
Yeah, actually, you can do that, and we'll talk about that first. So, this is a modern day picture of what is believed to be the upper room where Jesus and his disciples had the Last Supper.
Kind of looks like the stairs go up to the upper room.
Well, remember, if you look, the stairs don't even really go anywhere.
Because there's a door there and a door there.
Well, it could have just gone to a different room. But anyways, this is, and I do believe we have another one. Yes. This is like a more of a good, better angle of
like
it.
a modern day version.
Well, this is actually believed to be the real site.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Look at they were like the old one with the Passover house used to look like. Now it's more up. Like looked like they just built it or
Yeah, they very well could have remodeled it because I don't think it had stained glass windows back in the day. But
all that looks like it's new.
It very well could have been because but a lot of the masonry on the floor looks like it could be old. I mean, it definitely looks like it would have been older.
It kind of reminded me like I watched yesterday. I think was what one of the YouTubers I like watching, Experts and Barbara, was talking about layers on top of layers.
Yeah. Like you can tell by the masonry that it is actually old, but I do think that you are right and that maybe if there were certain parts that were remodeled to preserve it because there definitely was not stained glass windows. Windows didn't even have glass back in the day.
Chandelier.
Yeah, no. So I mean, there have been things that have been added, but for the most part, this is the site that is believed to be where the Last Supper happened, and like you had mentioned, the Last Supper, there's a lot of pictures which we're gonna show you guys one of the pictures one of the pictures that we have on here, but I think you're about to make that point, so you can go ahead and take over.
We do not have what was the artist one who bid the Last Supper I think it was was it no Leonard? No, I don't know. It was some artist that did like the Last Supper with like the modern day table and stuff like that. That's not accurate. The accurate.
You said it was like Leonardo da Vinci or something.
Yeah, so it's one of those old Renaissance painters that who just put modern like Renaissance like table and stuff like that. That's not accurate. The accurate one is the one they're basically on the ground. They're on their kneecaps, on their knees.
Yeah, and like some representations in movies have them having like little almost like coffee table type tables on the floor, but even then we don't even know if they would even had those tables. No, they very well could have just been eating off the floor, which was
or like some kind of table that's low to the floor that you can you have to knee up like this and
like that was the one that I was talking about. Aside. But chances are what was more realistic was they were literally actually eating off of the floor, which was normal back in those days. It was very normal back in those days to literally, you did everything on the floor. You ate on the floor, you prepared your food on the floor.
Dogs coming like the floor. I didn't.
Okay, well.
Well, they don't have they can pick up germs somehow.
It's kind of like my mama would be able to relate to this because we've had pugs like throughout our life. Pugs will just randomly just lick the floor for no reason. And so the pug just comes and starts washing the floor. No, that's gross. But like the truth I'm sorry, guys. We're so stupid. I'm sorry.
I'm picturing pugs as a vacuum in the mud and back in the time of Jesus.
That was probably disgusting in the microphone. No, but like in all seriousness though, they probably most likely would had been eating off of the floor. And did you want to show them like the picture? And this is one that has like the little tables, which are quite possible.
Because
And then
they
you
would have
see they got
they would have set on it, but sometimes they might have to lean.
yeah.
It's
And like when you actually read some of the scripture, like when Jesus was anointed in Bethany, they said that he was reclining at the table.
Yeah.
So they very well could had a table because they were eating at a rich man's guest room.
But when they're at the Last Supper, they probably would have been.
No, like that's what I'm saying is that they were eating in the guest room of a rich man's house. So they very well could had access to a table, but it probably would have been more like this. But anyways, did you want us to get into some scripture?
Yes.
Okay. So the first one we're going to read. Are you okay?
Yes, itchy back.
The first one that we're going to read is we're going to be over here in Matthew 26. And we're going to start in verse 17.
Matthew 26, verse 17.
All right, I got a little echo here.
Just making sure they know what it is.
Yes. And okay, so on the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, which is the Passover, which you were talking about the unleavened bread, but we should
to this.
Yeah, maybe that's another podcast idea to dive more into what it means of unleavened bread. But it was the Passover. That's basically what this festival of the unleavened bread was Passover.
I think what I was telling you about the Exodus part, I think connects to what they're.
Well, of course it does, because it was part of the Passover, which I think that you were probably right with where you were going with that. But anyways, on the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, which would be Passover, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Where do you want us to prepare the Passover meal for you?" And this is Jesus. He says, "As you go into the city," he told them, "you will see a certain man. Tell him the teacher says, 'My time has come, and I will eat a Passover meal with my disciples at your house.'" Which, when you read it like this, it kind of sounds invasive, because Jesus is like, tell this dude that I'm gonna eat dinner with my disciples in your house. It kind of would be like if someone knocked on your door and was like, "Hey, I'm eating dinner in your house tonight.
Can we borrow your place?"
You'd be like, "What?" But then, people knew Jesus. His name was very, very popular amongst Israel.
Verses what, 17?
Yeah, Matthew 26, 17. Okay. I just read 18. So now we're on 19. Oh. So the disciples did as Jesus told them and prepared the Passover meal there. When it was evening, Jesus sat down. There we go. Jesus sat down at the table with the 12. So again, this picture that you guys see here was probably the setup. It was more than likely a table that was low to the ground, and they would have probably had sat either on some blankets or their cloaks or whatever. Okay. I lost my place. Okay. While they were eating, he said to them, "I tell you the truth, one of you will betray me." Greatly distressed, each one of them asked in turn, "Am I the one, Lord?" He replied, "One of you who has just eaten from this bowl with me will betray me. For the Son of Man must die, as the scriptures declared long ago. But how terrible it will be for the one who betrays me. It would be far better for that man if he had never been born." As Judas, the one who would betray him, also asked, "Rabbi, am I the one?" And Jesus told him, "You have said it." As they were eating, Jesus took some bread and blessed it. Then he broke it into pieces and gave it to the disciples, saying, "Take this and eat it, for this is my body." And he took a cup of wine and gave thanks to God for it. He gave it to them and said, "Each of you drink from it, for this is my blood, which confirms the covenant between God and his people. It is poured out as a sacrifice to forgive the sins of many. Mark my words, I will not drink wine again until the day I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." And they sang a hymn and went out to the Mount of Olives. So this is where communion, modern day communion, comes into place. Whenever we take communion at church, we are commemorating this exact event where Jesus breaks the bread and shares the wine. This is my body and this is my blood. Do this in remembrance of me. We are exactly commemorating and reliving this Last Supper every time we do communion.
Did you know?
Oh no, here
No,
we
no,
go.
no. It's a cool fact. Like it.
Well, you're saying. Well,
When you
you're
were talking
sharing that.
about Jesus said go in the city and like find the man or the
Mhm.
boy. Did you know that was Mark?
No, I did not know that actually.
Yeah, it was Mark. When he was like maybe a boy or man, like a boy at the time,
Yeah.
and then he grew up. He started going into this to follow the disciples and stuff. Become like Peter's men Peter's little Peter mentors Mark. That's when the book. That's when the Gospel of Mark comes in. That's Peter's witness story.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so now I think that we're going to, because I think that Mark and Luke might be similar. So we're going to go to John's account now because John had a little bit of a different perspective. He spoke about the washing of the feet and stuff.
Yeah,
Which
we don't have a picture of that.
No, but if you look on our channel, I did upload a short.
We'll put it in the description of this
Yes.
podcast afterwards. When is that chapter?
That is John 13.
13.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to flip there. And we let you guys know the scriptures in case you want to read along with us, but you can absolutely listen to if you want.
Verse 5 when it starts?
I'm gonna let you know in a minute.
You know the reason why he.
No, I'm gonna start right at
You know the
1.
reason why when Jesus got up and washed the feet, because of because like Peter was right there. He was the person supposed to be the one that be washing the feet, but he didn't get up. So Jesus like, no, I'll get up, and he did himself.
I see. I didn't know that either. We're just learning a bunch of things
that was
from you.
I was watching Drive Through History.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
That was like a servant's thing to do.
Yeah.
But no disciples got up, so Jesus got up and did it himself.
Yeah. Which brings us to like what we were saying the last week's podcast about how Jesus came to serve and not to be served. All right, so we're gonna start just in verse 1 on like chapter 13, verse 1. So in John 13, Jesus is going
to.
I'm just going to read until 38. But Jesus, in this chapter, with the Last Supper, Jesus washes the disciples' feet, and then he predicts the betrayal from Judas. Judas's betrayal, and he also predicts Peter's denial.
We have a question.
What?
Can we read 2?
Yeah, if you'd like to. That was my fault. Oh no, what's going on? Y'all, please forgive me. My notifications are going off. Okay. What one would you like to read?
Whatever one is what do you think we be able to read?
Well, did you want to read like a smaller section?
Yes.
Did you want to read about either Jesus predicts his betrayal or he predicts Peter's denial? Did you want to read one of those?
What about the meaning of washing the foot washing?
I mean, you can.
It doesn't matter.
Read about that if you want to.
It only goes from 20 to 21, but I might just read a little bit. I don't know. Well, just go what you need to do.
All right, well, I'll start reading and then you can chime in when you want to. Before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to his Father. He had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth, and now he loved them to the very end. That is such a beautiful verse. Like, yeah. Anyway, it was time for supper, and the devil had already prompted Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything, and that he had come from God, and that he would return to God. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and poured water into a basin. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with a towel he had around him. When Jesus came to Simon Peter, Peter said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You don't understand now what I am doing, but someday you will." "No," Peter protested, "you will never wash my feet." Jesus replied, "Unless I wash you, you won't belong to me." Now, what I've heard is some people like say that Peter had told Jesus that you won't wash my feet because he felt unworthy. And he was like, like, "Why are you washing my feet? Like, and I should be washing your feet." Like, there was like a feeling of unworthiness, and that's why he said that. Yeah, Jesus replied, "Unless I wash you, you won't belong to me." Simon Peter exclaimed, "Then wash my hands and head as well, Lord, not just my feet." Jesus replied, "As a person who has bathed all over does not need to wash except for the feet to be entirely clean, and you disciples are clean." I'm making sure I read it correctly. "But not all of you." For Jesus knew who would betray him. That is what he meant when he said, "Not all of you are clean." After washing their feet, he put on his robe again and sat down and asked, "Do you understand what I was doing? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, because that's what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you. I tell you the truth, slaves are not greater than their master, nor is the messenger more important than the one who sends the message. Now that you know these things, God will bless you for doing them." Did you want to jump in or not yet?
Me go here.
Okay. Okay, so now we're on to Jesus predicts his betrayal. This is verse 18. "I am not saying these things to all of you. I know the ones I have chosen. But this fulfills the scripture that says, 'The one who eats my food has turned against me.' I tell you this beforehand, so that when it happens, you will believe that I am the Messiah." And I like how, like, is it in your Bible too, where like "I am" is all capitalized? Because like Jesus is the I am.
I am he.
Yeah, so like, but is "I am" capitalized?
No.
Like, if you look in my Bible, it's "I am" is all capital because Jesus identifies himself as "I am," and like even in the, oh my goodness, there's that daily episode burp. Every single time.
Mine is that I'm he.
And like in the Old Testament, he said like, "I am the I am" and stuff like that. So I
am who I am.
Yeah. So I like how in my Bible, "I am" is capitalized.
I think it depends on the translation. It could be
Yeah.
capitalized in yours, could be not. It means the same thing.
But I like it because it brings back that symbolism of like, "I am the I am," and or "I am who I am," whatever your translation says.
It means the same thing.
Yeah, but it's another way that John hinted at his divinity, and because John's gospel is centered mostly on Jesus's divinity, so I like how "I am" is capitalized because it's like John is saying, like, this is the same I am who spoke to Moses in the bush and burning bush and stuff.
Before that was Jacob. Before that was Isaac, and then Abraham, and then
yeah,
Noah.
it goes all the way back. Yeah, he goes all the way back, all the way to the garden.
We did a podcast on that one.
Yep, that is our episode on the creation story. So, verse 20, I tell you the truth. Anyone who welcomes my messenger is welcoming me, and anyone who welcomes me is welcoming the Father who sent me. Now, Jesus was deeply troubled, and he exclaimed, I tell you the truth. One of you will betray me. The disciples looked at each other, wondering whom he could mean. The disciple Jesus loved, which is in church tradition, is John. John never identifies himself as that disciple, but it's traditionally it's John.
Well, he's outlived every other disciple,
and he was the only one at the cross,
mm-hmm.
besides Mary, Jesus's mother, and Mary Magdalene. He was the only one of the 12 that was at the cross.
Sorry, we don't know what happened to Mother Jesus and Mary Magdalene.
No, because they disappeared after Acts. But anyway,
died. They could have just. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Mr. Off Topic here. Anyway. Alright, I'm going to reread that first part of 23. The disciple Jesus loved was sitting next to him. The disciple Jesus loved was sitting next to Jesus at the table. Simon Peter motioned to him to ask, who's he talking about? So that disciple leaned over to Jesus and asked, Lord, who is it? Jesus responded, it is the one to whom I give the bread I dip in the bowl. And when he had dipped it, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. When Judas had eaten the bread, Satan entered into him. Then Jesus told him, hurry and do what you are going to do. None of the others at the table knew what Jesus meant. Since Judas was their treasurer, some thought Jesus was telling him to go and pay for the food, or to give some money to the poor. So Judas left at once, going out into the night.
Let me read that one.
What one?
Just little...
Verse 38? Okay.
And this 36 to 38.
You want to read from 36 to 38? Okay. Okay, Jesus predicts Peter's denial. As soon as Judas left the room, Jesus said, the time has come for the Son of Man to enter into his glory, and God will be glorified because of him. And since God receives glory because of the Son, he will give his own glory to the Son, and he will do so at once. Dear children, I will be with you only a little longer, and as I told the Jewish leaders, you will search for me, but you can't come where I am going. So now I am giving you a new commandment. Love each other, just as I have loved you. You should love each other. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. It's okay, you got this.
I know. I'm reading out of my Christian Standard Bible.
Yes.
And if you want to reread it, you can reread it too.
Well, give yourself a chance first. And again, if this is you guys' first podcast you're seeing by us, my husband does have a pretty, would you say it's a pretty severe learning disability? So he does struggle to read a little bit. So please be kind in the comments. It's not his fault. If he's having a really hard time, I will reread it, but he wants to give it a try.
Okay. 36. Lord, Simon Peter said to him, where are you going? Jesus answered, where I'm going, you cannot follow me now, but you will follow later. Yeah. Lord Peter asked, why can I follow you now? I will lay down my life for you. Jesus replied, will you lay down your life for me? Truly, I tell you, a rooster will not crow until you deny me 3 times.
I think you did a pretty good job.
And
did you want me to reread it?
You don't have to, but
I don't think so. I think you did a pretty good
Um,
job.
well, that's that right there. Denied 3 times, but in the it in one of the Gospels, he restores him 3 times.
Yeah. I mean, I can. I'll reread it. Do you think I should?
You want to?
I think you did a good job. I think you did a good job, but I'll just reread it. Just so it's a little bit clearer. Is that okay?
Oh.
It is okay?
Oh.
Or do you want to leave it as is?
Leave it as is.
Okay.
If you want
to be to people, if we were sharing all the verses anyway, so people can read along or go back and read the verses.
And if you want to read it that part yourself, you can. It's in 36 to 38.
Yeah, of John chapter 13. Yeah. But we wanted to give the mister a chance, huh?
The only way I can get better at reading.
Yes. And you did a wonderful job. So that is the gist of what happened in the Last Supper, honestly. So by this point, the Last Supper, Jesus and his disciples, and here we go again.
I did quite well.
Jesus and his disciples are finishing supper at this point. Jesus has given them a final lesson, and they've eaten supper together, and he right now is extremely upset. And what's cool is what they're saying is that for the first time in 11 years, this year, Easter is falling on the exact day that they believe that it happened. They believe that the resurrection happened on April 5th, 33 AD. And which means that today is Thursday, April 2nd, which they believe is the true, April 2nd. And now, mind you, the months had different names back in the day.
They were going off the Jewish calendar.
Yeah.
And we're going off of the Constantine calendar.
But they believe that April 2nd of 33 AD would have been when the actual Last Supper happened and when Jesus would have been arrested and stuff, because they have timelines that go back all the way to 33 AD, and NASA has records.
Yeah, I did look up 33 AD or around that era.
Mm-hmm.
There was a solar eclipse went through that. And
NASA has records of it. They have a record of it.
I know they have records all to the first before we were on before they whatever they have for their
the point is though is that we have proof that this exact we have proof from timelines and historical records and NASA records and stuff like that. We have an idea now of when the actual crucifixion and resurrection happened. And so what's very, very cool is that on April 2nd of 33 AD, Jesus and his disciples would have been having the Last Supper and stuff. So this year, Easter is always special, but this year it's really cool because it lines up with what many scholars and scientists and stuff believe are the actual dates of Holy Week. And so tomorrow is April 3rd, Good Friday. They believe that Jesus was actually crucified on April 3rd of 33 AD. So it's very, very, very cool. Anyway, so at this point, Jesus and his disciples have had supper and they sang a hymn together and they left for the Mount of Olives. Jesus is very, very, very upset at this point. He is very anxious. He knows that he is in for a long, long, long night and a long day the next day. He knows that he's about to be brutally tortured.
Like he went to. I thought you went to the Garden of Gethsemane.
He did, but it's on the Mount of Olives.
We should have a picture of that, but we didn't.
But you do have a picture of the Garden of Gethsemane.
I know we do, but we're going to get to that part.
Yeah, you can change it now. Oh, there's an artwork of the Last Supper.
I think there must be a Catholic picture.
Yeah,
but it's still symbolizing what they may say and stuff.
Yeah,
and there's the garden.
The Garden of Gethsemane still exists today.
They have a fence around it.
Yes, and you have to get special permission to go in there, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it still exists today, and this is exactly what it looks like. And the cool thing is you see these really, really gnarly looking trees.
They're back in the time of Jesus.
These trees were back in the time of Jesus, which is why they look so rough.
I thought they had one some kind of. They had a tree that they put it inside something to that was Zacchaeus.
That was the Zacchaeus tree.
Yeah,
yes.
never mind.
But these trees, they've actually have determined that because the reason they're so thick is because over the centuries, layers of bark have grown on top of each other. And so that's why they look the way that they do. And
all the stories that a tree can tell you.
Yeah, exactly. These trees very well could have witnessed the whole event of the Garden of Gethsemane and Jesus' arrest and stuff like that. It's honestly amazing. And looking into archaeology from the biblical time period and stuff makes me such a history nerd. It's ridiculous. I love the idea of it. And I was actually reading something, this is off topic, but I was actually reading something the other day that they discovered the house where Mary lived as a teenager, where Gabriel appeared to her. Archaeologists have found it and already been excavating or whatever it. But anyways, off topic. Yes. So now Jesus and his disciples, they're in the Garden of Gethsemane. This is daytime, but it was nighttime.
I bet you'd probably be back in time. It'd be more trees and more plants and stuff around, would it?
Yeah, it could have been. It's obviously with modern day lawnmowers and stuff like that. The grass was probably a lot more grown out back in the day and all this, but it's a lot more maintained now.
Locusts.
And that's what happened at nighttime. This picture is during the day, but you can see it better during the day. So anyway. So yeah, Jesus is very, very, very upset right now. And
you have a little fact about that. When he was stressed out so much, he did blood.
Yeah. I'm actually going to
find it.
Yes. Because I forgot to write that down.
Well, at least I remembered it.
Yes.
You can read the chapter of when he was in the garden, and you can put that in after you're done reading and stuff like that. So you can what's it called? Line up with what you're talking about. Right?
Yes. Okay. So I'm looking at it. So it says hematidrosis. So Jesus had a medical condition. Doctors have diagnosed it nowadays. And obviously in his day it did not have a diagnosis. For those who think that Jesus had a perfect body that never experienced medical conditions and stuff like that, here's proof he did. Jesus experienced in the garden a condition called hematidrosis. And what it is when someone who has this condition gets under extreme distress. Like Jesus was extremely upset. In one of our other episodes, we talked a little bit about the garden. I think it might have been
It
in like
was.
the Who is Jesus or something like that.
Or was it the one before this one?
I don't know. It
Oh,
was one of the early ones. I think it might have been like the
you'll,
Who is Jesus one because we were talking about his humanity and his divinity, and I believe that that was our second episode.
it's up there. You can go back and watch it.
Yeah, but Jesus literally himself said that. What did he say? He was like, my. I'll have to. I'll get to it because we're gonna be reading about it. But like Jesus was extremely,
Stressed.
extremely upset. He was very, 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 very anxious. He knew.
Stressed out too.
Yeah, he knew.
What's gonna come next?
Yeah, and like thinking about it, I mean, you're 32. You're a couple months away from your 33rd birthday. Jesus was pretty much the same age as you. Think about being his age and knowing that you're not only going to die, but you're going to die in like the most torturous way possible. And how hard, like upset you would be. You gotta go get more water?
Yes.
You can go get more water. I'll take over the mic. So, yeah, at this point, he's very, 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 very upset. And somebody with this condition, under extreme distress, it causes them to literally ooze blood out of their sweat glands. And it would have been probably quite horrifying for the disciples to see, because not only would he had actually like had blood coming down his face from his sweat glands and stuff like that, but in some cases it would even come out of their eyes.
You.
So like he the Bible doesn't specify like where the blood came from, but it does say that he actually was sweating blood.
I have a feeling he probably came from his eyes, his ears, or his mouth.
Yeah, like anywhere that
Or
there
his nose.
is like sweat glands or like tear glands and stuff like that.
When you sweat out the toxins and stuff.
Yeah. So it would have probably had been a pretty horrifying sight to see. But not only does it look horrifying, but the person who has it, it's an extremely rare condition. Like I was looking it up, and it says only a handful of people with this condition. Like there's only been a handful of cases that have ever been reported.
So it's like one out of something people.
It's extremely, extremely rare. Including Jesus, you probably could count on like maybe one hand how many people have had it. It's extremely rare. It says only a handful of cases have ever been reported. But so but like the thing is like not only did it look pretty scary, Jesus, it would have made his skin very, very, very tender. And because it makes this like I think it like makes the blood vessels like inflamed and stuff like that. So his skin would have become very fragile and also very tender, which would have added to the agony, because like his medical condition was flared up from his distress. So like anytime people like grabbed at his arm and stuff, it would have sent horrible pain through his skin.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it made the skin very fragile too. So when he was like whipped and stuff like that, it would have made the pain so much worse.
That will be talked about in the next podcast.
What?
The crucifixion and resurrection.
Yes, that's tomorrow's episode.
I think in between after the Gethsemane, I think it's the one he goes to pilot other people.
Yeah.
That would be for the crucifixion spot. Never mind. Yeah.
Okay, so
Jesus was sad when they fell asleep on him.
well, yeah. All right, so I need to
Find the chapter.
Yeah, because we forgot to write down the Bible verses.
It's okay.
Last Supper. It says Last Supper, so we should
So there's
Mount of Olives.
All right, so here we are. So for the first one I'm going to read is, because it's right in front of me, is Luke 22, and we're going to start in verse 39. I didn't know if you were
No,
if
I'm
you were
looking
trying
at
to flip to that
I'm gonna
point.
see if I can find if there's a different.
Well, that would be very helpful because we forgot to write down the verses. All right, so starting in 39, this is when Jesus starts praying in the garden. That's why it says Jesus prays in the Mount of Olives, because that's where the garden's located. Then, accompanied by his disciples, Jesus left the upstairs room and went as usual to the Mount of Olives. Jesus loved being on the Mount of Olives. He gave sermons there, like the Sermon of the Mount.
Mm-hmm.
It was a important place in his ministry. So there he told him, "Pray that you will not give in to temptation." He walked away about a stone's throw and knelt down and prayed. This part is sad to me because, like, I was talking about it with you this morning about how in the garden Jesus begged for mercy and God had no mercy on him because we don't deserve mercy. And he punished Jesus the way that he would punish us. And because we don't deserve mercy, he didn't give Jesus mercy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so sad, but anyway. So Jesus prays and he says, "Father, if you are willing, please take this cup of suffering away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine." Then an angel from heaven appeared and strengthened him. He prayed more fervently, and he was in such agony of spirit that his sweat fell to the ground like great drops of blood. At last he stood up again and returned to the disciples, only to find them asleep, exhausted from grief. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked them. "Get up and pray, so that you will not give in to temptation." Which, this part is sad because, like, we're gonna read again where he says to them, he's like, "You couldn't have stayed awake with me for, like, even an hour." In that moment of such extreme fear, all Jesus wanted was someone to stay awake with him and just be a friend, and they just kept falling asleep. So you can imagine his loneliness that added on top of the fear. So now Jesus is betrayed and arrested. But even as Jesus said this, a crowd approached, led by Judas, one of the 12 disciples. Judas walked over to Jesus to greet him with a kiss. But Jesus said, "Judas, would you betray the Son of Man with a kiss?" When the other disciples saw what was about to happen, they exclaimed, "Lord, should we fight? We brought the swords." And one of them, which is Peter, struck at the high priest's slave, slashing off his right ear. But Jesus said, "No more of this." And he touched the man's ear and healed him.
I found both of them, and one in Matthew and one in Mark.
Yeah. Then Jesus spoke to the leading priests, the captains of the temple guards, and the elders who had come for him. "Am I some dangerous revolutionary," he asked, "that you come with swords and clubs to arrest me? Why didn't you arrest me in the temple? I was there every day. But this is your moment, the time when the power of darkness reigns." So they arrested him and led him to the high priest's home. And this is where I'm going to stop because it gets into tomorrow's message. But that is the first one. And what was the other one?
Mark chapter 14 verse 32. Hi, Mark. Hi, Mark.
Mark 14.
You go backwards.
Mark 14.
Verse 32. And then Matthew something, I'll tell you later.
14, verse 32.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right there.
So, yeah, Mark 14, verse 32. They went to the olive grove called Gethsemane, and Jesus said, "Sit here while I go and pray." He took Peter, James, and John with him, and he became deeply troubled and distressed. He told them, "My soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." He went on a little farther and fell to the ground. He prayed that if it was possible, the awful hour awaiting him might pass by. "Abba, Father," he cried, "everything is possible for you. Please take this cup of suffering away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine." And again, the begging for mercy, only to not receive it.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
please take this cup of suffering away from me. Yeah, I want your will to be done, not mine. What were you gonna say?
Pretty much, like, after you read that, it's basically the same thing. Jesus'
Yeah,
betrayal and
I think we'll read two of them. That way it's not repeating itself. But both accounts are a little bit different, which is good. Then he returned and found the disciples asleep. He said to Peter, "Simon, are you asleep? Couldn't you watch with me even 1 hour? Keep watch and pray so you will not give in to temptation. For the spirit is willing, but the body is weak." Then Jesus left them again and prayed the same prayer as before. When he returned to them again, he found them sleeping, for they couldn't keep their eyes open, and they didn't even know what to say. Which it's so sad because like I said before, in this moment all he wanted was a friend.
he wanted a friend, but they are sleeping heads.
And imagine being so overcome with fear. Like, I think of being an anxiety sufferer myself, and when I have those moments of crippling anxiety, and to think that Jesus's anxiety was like 100 times what mine was, I I can't even imagine. And it's like thinking in those moments of anxiety, just wanting somebody to be around to comfort you, and they were just sleeping. It makes me so sad. When he returned to them the third time, he said, "Go ahead and sleep. Have your rest." But no, the time has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Up, let's be going. Look, my betrayer is here.
If you, I don't think if you want to read Matthew, are you good with that?
I'm good.
Okay.
I think that we got enough information to talk on it.
Anything else you wanted to say, or anything other things you want to, like, you didn't have to get instant cover?
Well, like I was saying, I think that the Garden of Gethsemane is such a sad moment, because not only was he just so overcome with crippling anxiety, like you think as someone who, like I said, as somebody who has mental illness runs in my family, and thinking about the moments where I have like crippling anxiety, to think like that feels unbearable, almost unbearable to me. But then to think Jesus, his anxiety being probably 100 times worse. I mean, he knew that literally for the next like 18 hours, he was going to be brutally tortured. Like he knew, and it wasn't going to be a peaceful death at all. It wasn't gonna be merciful. It was going to be long and absolutely excruciating. And it makes me so sad to think about, especially like I said, the moments where like he just wanted a friend, and they just, I mean, they could have done jumping jacks, they could have walked around, like,
You
but
could do anything, but they're it's like he said, your flesh is weak or something like that.
yeah.
They're weak, but the soul wants to be awake with him, but the flesh is weak.
Yeah, and like they could have walked around, they could have done jumping jacks,
At least they should. Somebody could have just farted.
Oh my goodness. No. Well, we can't cut that out now.
Hey,
Oh,
you got your sister. Sister might watch it too.
oh my goodness. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, you're the reason you taught her that stuff. Oh my goodness. Anyway.
My thing I think people should get out of it, if you have the time and money and passport, go to Jerusalem and see these sites. It would change your perspective.
Perspective.
Perspective of what is in the Bible, because it can change your outlook of the Bible. Because you can just read the Bible. If you go in person and see the Garden of Gethsemane, you can see where Jesus was crucified and stuff like that. It might change your perspective.
Yeah.
And if like we want to go there someday, but it would take some long time to get what we need to do.
Yeah.
But that's my little good thing you should try. Do it once in your lifetime.
And I think too about Jesus's passion, like even in the garden, because he didn't want to die at all, and he was terrified. But
He did it for us.
still, yeah, he, despite how terrified he was, what was more unbearable than the idea of pain and humiliation was the thought of heaven without us. And that is why he's, despite the fact that he didn't want to die, he still said to the Father, not my will, but your will be done. He didn't want to be tortured, but he knew that it was the only way. And it's a beautiful, overwhelming thought to think of, like, in this moment, in these moments of such unbearable agony, that he still thought of each one of us. And he still chose the cross because, not because he had to, but because
He wanted to.
He wanted to. He said, I am doing this for the joy that is placed before me.
That sounds like a Billy Graham reference.
But it is an actual Bible verse. Hold on, let me point
I think Billy
it
Graham quoted that verse. Baby woman's searching the Bible verse. He looks so focused on that Bible verse. She wants to find that Bible verse. And she wants to poke it and touch the tootsies. But that's me. Never mind. I'm a rumbler. Hey, Star Wars Mandalorian. No, it's called Daddy Allure. I just saw that today. I was waiting at the dentist. There was a guy next to me, across from me. He had a shirt said saying Mandalorian. It said Daddy Allurian.
Oh, that's nice.
That was funny.
Okay, so I did find it.
It must be a T-shirt. Oh.
So it says, so that's the verse that I found was in Hebrews 12:2, and it says, it's talking about, I'll read the first verse too so that it makes sense. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race that God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith, because of the joy awaiting him. He endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. So, I mean, in a sense, it does say, like, he even in the garden, like the vulnerability that he experienced in the garden, he didn't let it stop him from being the ultimate sacrifice, because because he also tells Pilate, I think it was Pilate, where he said, like, this is the whole reason that I've been born. Because, like, Pilate was originally trying to prevent the crucifixion. Without going too much into detail about it, Pilate was originally trying to prevent God's plan from happening because he didn't want to kill Jesus. But Jesus told him, to this end, was I born? This is the whole reason why I was born. I was born to be a sacrifice. I was born to die for the sins of mankind. Like, Jesus probably knew his whole life that this day was coming. But he probably, I mean, I think that Jesus, I'm not quite sure, to be honest, if Jesus knew when exactly it was going to happen, because, like, the Bible kind of communicates it as he didn't really know that his time was coming until, like, the Father revealed it to him, and then he started getting panicky.
I think Jesus already knew what's going to happen.
You think so?
Because he's God in flesh.
Yeah.
He knew everything. He even knew when he's going to die and when he's going to raise.
Yeah.
And he knew those people that say shout Hosanna will turn against him.
Yeah.
Even his own disciples went and going to one state.
Mm-hmm. So. Is there anything else that you want to say on it?
No.
No?
No. I think we covered what we need to cover.
Yeah.
And we got one out coming tomorrow.
Yes. So stay tuned for tomorrow's.
Make sure we get enough notes and stuff.
Yeah.
We can just read it. We can just.
No, we'll be fine. So stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. Tomorrow will be our Good Friday special. And then either Saturday or Easter Sunday, we will be doing our Easter special.
I think Sunday would be perfect for it.
Yes.
We should have one day off to just take a break.
Yeah. And so Saturday there won't really be a podcast episode because nothing happened on Saturday. Saturday was when Jesus was dead in the tomb. So there's not a whole lot to really talk about. I mean, unless you're a Catholic, then you probably believe that he went down to hell. And I mean, we don't know.
We don't have any. There's no biblical proof that he did.
No, because he tells the thief.
We don't know.
He tells the thief, today you'll be with me in paradise. So,
but there's the things like he said in John, like that things that Jesus did that we don't know of. That if it did happen, if all those things did happen, the book won't be contained for it.
Yeah, and then
that could be one of those things.
And then another one of the books, the writer of the book hints that Jesus went to hell to declare his victory.
That's in Peter.
Yeah. So
First Peter or Second Peter.
He very well could have went to hell, declared his victory over sin and death, and then went up to heaven and was actually with the thief that same day.
He could have freed those kings and stuff that were in Abraham's side.
Yeah. But so he very well still could have done both things because there's no time, like in eternity, there's no time clock. So he very well could.
He did more things probably what we don't even know that we hasn't been written down. I know there's those books out there that Catholics made that are not.
Well, we're not bashing Catholics.
No, I meant those books that they was part of the Bible. They took them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we will speak about we will speak out against certain things. So like if it offends you, like we're sorry, but we're gonna be honest on this podcast and speak about things that we
Well, that's the part of following Jesus. You will be persecuted.
yeah.
And like I know that in June it's gonna be that.
Well, we're not worried about that
I know,
yet.
Hey, Clippy.
But we're not worried about June yet. It's April. But the thing is that there are things in Catholicism that are just not true, and we might address those sometimes. And it's like if you
we
don't
have a
like
little
it,
bit of knowledge of it.
if you don't like it, I mean, like, I'm
We-
sorry, but
You don't like that you
You don't-
don't like the podcast we're gonna do about that, then wait for the next one.
yeah, exactly. Or you don't have to listen if you really don't want to. But like, because
we have a question.
I didn't get to finish my point yet. Because
What?
there's what we were saying before, though, is because there's no time clock in eternity, Jesus very well could had died, gone to hell, declared his victory over sin and death, and then went up to heaven and was with the thief that same exact day.
Mm-hmm. Because there's no time.
Yeah.
I know we have a break on Saturday. I'm thinking of doing a let's play or live stream.
That's very random. But yeah, we'll just play it by ear and see what happens.
Year.
But yeah, there won't be
A year.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, yeah, there won't be an episode on Saturday just because there's not really a whole lot biblically that we can really talk about, because like Jesus was in the tomb. But maybe
Well-
we might come on here and kind of share thoughts or something. That might be a nice idea, to kind of record a little bit of an episode and kind of share thoughts about how we're feeling and stuff, because I know that for me, that between Good Friday and Easter Sunday, I do carry some heavy emotions. So it might be nice to kind of come on and like pop in and share a little bit of our thoughts and stuff. But we'll see.
Picture yourself in a tomb with the what we call that, stone over it.
Yeah.
You're in pitch dark. You can't see your feet.
Well, he'd be dead anyway.
I know. Picture yourself in that tomb, but there is no light.
Oh, like when he rose.
Yeah.
Well, well, yeah, but that's why the angels moved the angel moved the stone
they
away.
took it and yeeted it. Yay!
Oh my goodness. Okay.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this podcast. We see you
Tomorrow. Yeah.
And Friday,
Tomorrow's Friday.
Oh yeah, Saturday. I might do a live stream, but I might not. I'll let you know till then.
And we might pop on here too and kind of share our thoughts and stuff.
Maybe like a 30-minute little
Check in.
See how people are doing and stuff.
Yeah.
Who knows? We might just do
We might be able to do a live,
maybe
recording.
we could do like a Q&A or some kind of little question thing. Like if somebody has questions about a certain topic in the Bible or something that they don't understand, maybe they can come and we can answer it.
Yeah, but we don't have enough of an audience to do that.
It doesn't matter.
We might just come and check in.
Doesn't matter. Somebody can come in after that little live stream is done and write the comment. And we look at it and we can just text it.
Yeah.
Like you be the texter. I'm just clicker. All right, guys. See you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye. Remember, don't touch any people's tootsies.
Oh no.
Or whack each other with palm branches.
Bye-bye.
Bye.